up, guys? Finally, he sleeps here. Today, we're here with the RSX, and this is a video that's been, it's been several months in the making. There's something about static cars that it's a sense of being a rebel. You just don't care. You're trying to do everything you can to be as low as possible. And yes, there is damage involved and a lot of, busted bolts and headlights and broken oil pans and everything. But to go that route, you have to have kind of a just screw the world attitude, and I'm gonna do it. This car has been static for quite a while, and there's a lot of videos on the channel about building this. But a few months ago, my son, his car, decided he was gonna build another static car, and he bought an older Civic EK hatch, DX manual. That's the new project. And when that happened, he's got big plans for it. So this is now his daily. And if going static is kind of a status quo and it takes away that whole daily status on a car, then the only other way to do it is to go on airbags. So if static is screw the world, airbags is kind of the pavement princess way out. Like it looks good when it's parked, but when you're driving, you're safe. And so that was the plan. It's not a cheap thing to do. It's actually very expensive because of the control modules and everything. So my boys decided they felt they could do it for under $1,000. And it meant everything manual, buying all of the parts separately, using his existing lowering kit, the BC Racing Coilovers, to add airbags to it to make it a manual airbag system for under $1,000. That was their plan. It worked. They got the car down on air for under $1,000. Then he ended up spending a bunch more to make it look pretty and do everything so that the interior looks nice. We're gonna take a look at it today and show you how they did it to put air ride on this car for under $1,000. Now, again, I was there for a few parts of the project, but this was theirs. They did this. I was just consulting. So they get full credit for this build. Make sure you subscribe here at YouTube if you like this sort of content. Comment in the thing below if you've got one of these Acuras or Honda Integra RSX and you have it on air, or if you're interested in seeing more about the car. So what dimensions are you grabbing now?
53. What was the other ones? 2.0, right? 12. Different. So I'm glad that we checked.
All right, so as you can see right here, the car has been completely pulled apart. Seats are out, and the reason for this is to start to run all of the lines. The first step as far as running everything goes is you need air lines to run from each of the wheels up to the gauges, and then from the gauges back to the tank. Okay, so here we are on the left rear, and you can see the air line that we've got running. Here's the line that we're talking about. Basically just drilled a hole up next to the tower, and the line's coming out. We've got the line sitting here so that once we get the bags in, we'll have something to attach from it. So here we are in the car. You can see the lines coming up through there, and then we actually just have it running through the plastic because what they're gonna do is move the stereo to where the back seat used to be, and then there's where the spare tire and everything in the back is gonna be the air tank. And compressor. All right, so each of the 4 wheels, the lines come in, and we're bringing them up here through to the new console that they've got built. And the lines that come in from the airbags at the wheels are here. Then there's another set of 4 lines from here where the gauges are going to be that go back and run under the sill along, well, under the carpet here along the side. Everything runs back through into the rear end. That's the 4 lines that are coming in on the other side. All right, so here's the gauge assembly that the boys made to attach to the new console. This is where the air lines are going to come in. Now, each of these gauges are double needles, so you can see there's a yellow and a white. And the way that is we've got 4 switches here, and the 4 switches are for each of the wheels. So like this would be the left rear wheels airbag. The switches all have a delivery and supply. And what that is the supply is coming from the air tank, and then the delivery delivers that air to the wheel. And they will connect through the gauges so that you can see how much air pressure you actually have at the wheel. Now, the way these switches work, up and down, delivers or purges the system. And there's a tiny little hole there between the 2 airlines. That's the purge. So when you dump the air out with a manual system, it actually expels air right out of the back of the switch. So to lower the car or raise the car, you got to have 4 fingers to be able to do it. That's kind of the drawback by doing a manual system rather than air management. Doing it this way, it's independent control to each of the wheels, but it does take 4 fingers to raise and lower the car.
Each line from the air tank will go to the supplies, and then they'll come off the delivery with a short line that'll either split off or tee off, and one side will hook to the back side of your gauge, and the other one will go to the bag.
Okay, just as far as how much this stuff goes, how much were the gauges themselves, the dual needle gauges?
The Viair gauges were $45 a piece. The single needle ones, if you got room to run or hook up 4 individual gauges, they're $13 a piece. And then the switches, these switches came in a package deal with these black plates, $25 a piece.
So you got $50 in the switches and what, 90? Did you say 45 for the dual gauge? So 90.
$140 for the
100, and that's your zero management system, $140. The whole deal with this being able to add bags, it's you're bagging a set of coilovers. So you're removing the coil off of the shock and adding a bag in its place. So you have to have coilovers before you start this. But the next step is to look at is we're going to take a look at the tank and the compressor. All right, so here's the trunk setup that's going to go in the back that covers it up. It's just MDF, and there's a wall. They're going to mount brackets on the wall to put the air tank. Here is the air tank, and the lines, the 4 lines will come in here on the air tank. And then there's the compressor. We're going to have to wire the compressor up. Basically, the compressor compresses the air into the tank, and then there's a gauge that will add in line with the tank to show how much pressure we have here. And then this will run to the switches, and then the switches send the air that's built up in the tank out to the airbags, and then that will raise the car. Then to lower the car, you release the air from the airbags, and it purges it and then sends the air back out the back of the switches up front.
These are your 4 face ports. These are 1/4 inch that go to each of the switches. And then you got 2 3/8 end ports that you'll reduce down to 1/4 inch to one side for your compressor. And then the other side, you'll wire in your pressure switch and your relay to power it. The pressure switch will automatically tell the compressor to turn on at 120 PSI, and it shuts the compressor off at 150 PSI. That way you don't have to have a separate manual switch for your tank or for your compressor.
Okay, so it's actually a branded tank. How much was the tank?
The tank was 170, and the compressor I think was 120.
But that's a replica, right?
A replica of the Viair compressors.
Okay, so then we'll add all this up to see what we actually have in the parts. How many airlines how many airlines?
We ordered 120 feet, but we used about 80.
So 80 feet of airlines. How much was the airlines?
30 bucks per 30-foot roll.
And then how much in all the fittings?
Yeah, I ended up quick. I don't know. There's several.
Fittings was where all the money came in. The key to this, what's gonna make it so cheap, is there's already coilovers in. So the coilovers that you have now, you tear apart and remove the coil, and that's where the bag goes in. So you're basically manually creating your bag suspension in the back using existing lowered coils. But you have to be able to tear those apart, measure them, and order the bags exactly as needed to fit into the car. Ooh, so pretty. So that's the T-junction. Mm-hmm. And then that one,
Basically, now that the gauges are hooked into your delivery lines, your line's just going to hook up to from your air tank, and then this is the one from your bags.
And then that one in the middle is the light.
Yeah, these are the lights, the gauges.
Yeah. And we just hooked those up to ignition and ground. That'll fit in there pretty good.
Yep.
So here's the coilover with the coil removed. Like there's the old coil. And the bag is installed. And these are actually custom made top hats to fit the car based on what it is. Then on the bag, where the hell's the fitting? Oh, right there's the fitting. So what happens is the bag is sealed down here and up here. The bag inflates with air. We have the air lines running on the car. Here is where it goes in. There is a reducer that goes into there, and then a 90 goes into the reducer, and then the lines that are already ran in go into here. These are push connect, so that's a push connect fitting that basically just attaches there, and that's where the air is received into the bag to convert the coilovers into bags. All right, so these are the top hats that we had custom made to work with this. It's just a couple of pieces of steel welded together. And then we drilled them out and fit the stock bushings through so that it seals across the top. The old coil, the bag, new top hat, bushings, and then it's locked in. And that it's just a plate steel with a welded ring to hold the bushing in place, and then the studs are welded into for the top hat. All right, one of the problems that we've come into on this is here's where the coil goes up into the rear, and there's a ton of metal here that we don't need. So, and the way the bag lines up with the way the airline goes into the bag, we've got to take some of this metal out. So it's not in the way of anything. It's just extra metal here. So I got to cut all this back with the grinder and just try not to hit anything. All right, so we've got it cut and edged. This is the chunk that we took out. So when the coilover comes up and the airline comes out, it does have room to come out, and then the airline goes up. There's a hole that we've got drilled there. So I gotta match it up and do the same thing to the other side. Here's the final air setup in the back end. They went with like a false floor hardwood look and a floating air tank and pump mounted. So he still has plenty of room back here for storage and everything. But what they got rid of was, It's now a two-seater. So the back seat came out and the stereo system moved forward and then built in through the wall. Vinyl is pretty clean. He did lose 2 seats in the car, but I don't think he's ever had anybody back there anyway. Here's the final air setup inside with the new aluminum panel that they set up. Here it is aired out. Unfortunately, as you can see, as soon as the car was complete and done and on air, a deer wanted to see a close-up view of this thing. So it's about to go into the shop for that. But here it is completely aired out. Thanks for checking out this GearHeads video. Today we're here on my main YouTube channel where a lot of you still seem to be finding my automotive content. If you're into custom builds, do your own repairs, or just dig the car scene and want more related videos in your feed, make sure you follow the subscribe link right over there so you'll never miss when a GearHeads video goes live.